Hello there and welcome back to War Thunder. Today I want to talk about the IS-7 in some sort of first impressions. Now before I talk about the tank, I want to lose a few words about what happened the last 10 days. Some not so nice things happened and actually some terrible things happened that I witnessed, and that was even before I went to the Wacken Open Air, which was really great. Except one thing, that was the weather. I hoped for rain. I really hoped. But the crazy temperatures, the sun, the amount of humidity, it just that there is no end to it. And so if you hear background noise, if you hear cars on the street, I have to keep the window open. I have to keep the ventilator running. But actually, to quote here IGS Gaming, it's good to talk to all of you again. This is now the first video that I make that's the first video in 10 days that I make. And I missed recording. I missed talking English, rambling, into a microphone with my ass on a very comfy seat. Wappen itself is not so comfortable, but it's metal, so that's a different story. There will be a video about Wacken. There will be footage on it and some crazy funny stuff, I guarantee it to you, once I get the footage from my friends. The other thing is, the IS-7, of course. How could I forget? So the IS-7 is the reward tank from this summer event, and this is just going roughly over the stats and just giving you the raw facts, the very raw overview. You see, I'm a bit rusty with commentary. It's always that bad. Yeah, thank you. So it is 8.0 battle rating at rank 5, and it comes with no modules unlocked, so you have to get them yourself. You have to grind them yourself. It doesn't have a premium status. It doesn't have increased silver line income, and you can see on the other side the stock grind isn't that terrible compared to some other tanks. And the tank actually has some nice features. First of all, a relatively unique 130mm cannon, the C-70, with 30 rounds. Furthermore, it is the first Russian heavy tank with an autoloader, if I'm not mistaken, and it has by quite some bit the fastest reload in a while, after the IS-1, which is the last one with a decently fast reload. So you can see all the way down to 5.3 up to 8.0. And that has to do with the tank having an 8-shot autoloader. After that you have to go through a long reload, or while you're not fighting, just repositioning or just waiting, the shells get reload in the ready rack in the back of the turret. And there you can see 5 crew members. We have the driver, we have the gunner, a loader, another loader, and the commander. Another feature of this tank is that it has 8 machine guns, 2 high caliber 14.5mm ones, 1 coaxial, 1 here on the top, and then 6 distributed literally or scattered over the entirety of the tank. 2 coaxial, which is nice, and then 4 pointless ones, rear of the turret, fixed mounted, mind you, and also 2 on each side of the hull, fixed mounted forward. Not quite sure how useful that is. Whoever the genius was that thought that this would be amazing. But now here come the 2 great things. That is the armor, which is really bouncy and is really difficult to penetrate, not just for stock tanks, but especially for tanks at its own battle rating, and especially lower battle rating ones, or some other old school tanks. 150mm at 50 degrees angle or slope, and that is comparable to the Tiger II's frontal upper glacis. And then the IS-7's hull is very comparable to the T10M or the IS-3 with the peak nose design. 150mm at 60 degrees. So I think the 60 degrees of angling are when you look at it like this. You can see Now it's 300 from the front. When you look at it from further away, 360. So yeah, this is a case for 120mm hash rounds. This is a case for high penetration heat rounds, or for extremely high penetration APDS or APFSDS. So the tank actually reaches its limits in terms of reliability of armor against 9.0 tanks. However, it should be the job of a heavy tank to take fire. And then we come to the turret. So if you want to penetrate this with the German 128mm, good luck pixel hunting, man. But it is possible. Some edges here, right there. It's not really nice. But then again, we have a cupola. Overall, I have to say, and this sounds funny, that if you take weak spots like this into consideration, which you can penetrate easily with a long 88, it's not the biggest target, but at least it's there. It's not as crazy as the IS-6 was when it first came out. Back of the turret, big, flat, thinly armored target with then the autoloader behind it. Same goes for the rear of the hull. But the side of the hull is very well protected as well. 100mm, so that's this hull. But here it begins to be sloped. And here we have 60 degrees angling. So that means 250mm of effective armor with the spaced armor here that reflects hash, or not reflects, but absorbs it. And also this bar here, 150mm. Parts of the side armor are as well protected as the upper frontal glacis of a Target 2, just to put things into perspective, because that's direct comparison in terms of raw armor thickness and around about this angling. Side of the turret, it's a big target. But as you can see with the angling, effective thickness, well, yeah, you have to aim very careful with old school tanks that fire APHE or APCBC round. Talking about APCBC round, now we come to the ammunition of this tank, and it fires two ammunition types. APCBC round for this tank, not the normal Russian APHE BC round, and that really makes this tank feel like a Jagdtiger with a shorter 10-second reload autoloader. As you can see, the penetration numbers and muzzle velocity are in the range of the German 128mm, and it feels like that, both in positive and in negative aspects. Damage output of 200 grams of TNT equivalent, 900 meters muzzle velocity, it's great. Up until the point that sometimes it doesn't work and it ricochets, it disappears, it does no penetrations where you expect it to penetrate. It's the typical APCBC round that I do not really like. But again, compared to something like the Mauser or the 100, you have nearly twice the reload thanks to the autoloader, and you have better frontal armor when also it comes to taking shots. The HE round is strange because it just has 31mm. A lot of the Russian 122mm already have 36mm of penetration, as well as the SU-100Y down at battle rating 5.3, and also sometimes it just doesn't deal any sort of damage. And as you can see here, this is just a small oddity. There is no fuse sensitivity or fuse delay given. Maybe that's the issue. Let's hope it gets fixed. So Commando's cupola is a weak spot. This part here is a weak spot. Some pixels here are also penetratable, but overall the tank is very tough. You can play it very aggressively, also because of the very good mobility. You are under 70 tons with a nearly 1200 horsepower engine, so that gives you actually effectively a pretty decent mobility, and I like that. I really like the fact that this tank can do things. But funnily enough, and I have to point this out, This tank feels balanced, and this is now crazy if you follow my channel. What? A balanced Russian reward tank? What have they done to you in Wagner? Now I'm honest, if you look at the battle rating, it can't be 7.7 in comparison to the Maus or some other 7.7 tanks like the Surbassé, because it has comparable speed, comparable firepower, but way better protection. So there are reasons to give it a higher battle rating. But if you look at the overall spread that this tank can reach to 9.0, well, then it has to face hard counters like, for instance, the American Premium XM1 GM. It hard counters it. It's faster with AP FSDS and Heat FS and stabilizer, quicker reload. This is a hard counter for this tank. Both can kill each other, but I would really more rely on the XM1 in the direct confrontation. But I think the tank is unique enough, it's good enough to be a worthy reward for your efforts from the summer event. I hope that I get another chance to actually make a total review or a complete review about the tank, to play it some more, because I actually didn't play it all that often. As you can see, just 32 battles. I came home from Wacken, I had a lot of stuff to do, and so I didn't have all the time that I wanted to play it. But it has an okay win ratio, okay kill to death ratio. But overall, one thing that I have to point out, it's not a very exciting tank to play, for me personally. It's a bit boring. I actually have more exciting moments in an E100 or a Maus. It's a bit like... It's difficult to describe. It works good enough to be not frustrating and to bring in the results, but it is too good overall to have the weaknesses that give it special flavor. And this last part is really, really difficult to explain. So it is good, it's very good, but it's not overpowered, and it comes in very good tradition of other reward tanks. But I think, other reward tanks from previous summer events, for instance the Pakwagen, are way more exciting. They are so much better, not just battle rating by battle rating, but also at their own battle rating. And I think this is now a cherry picking thing, but I really have to say that I guess I expected a touch more on the gun side. That's all that I want to say. Not saying that this tank is bad or broken or anything like this, but I think it is too good armor wise for me to enjoy playing my E100 at the same battle rating. That's all that I want to say. So without further ado, I have a few funny scenes for you. Let's hop into battle, let's see what the tank can do. So here we have the first scene on the Fuller Gap map, and look at the speed that tank is going downhill, 60 kilometers an hour. That is actually achievable. And Gaijin seems to have fixed the trees while I was gone, so that's good. There is already some action going on. A Pakwagen was destroyed, and what is that? That is a Puma, so let's fire the machine guns. And we killed him. Good stuff right there. There's another one. And I feared that he would escape, so I actually knocked out the crew with the main gun. Double strike right there. So this is now the optimum, and we actually go into the capture zone. We try our best. We going aggressively. You can see it on the minimap. I am ahead of my team by quite some bit. This is the very good mobility. The horsepower to ton ratio might not indicate that directly, but the ground pressure is really great on this tank, and so you actually can go to places. In a knife fight, it's still a heavy tank, it's still not the fastest, and there is actually an Arado coming in, and the reverse, and the bombs do no damage. But that was just the first strike. So we go in, we decapture C, and we equalize here a bit the chance of our team to win the game at the end. But you know, it wouldn't be a game of War Thunder if it wouldn't be for, well, planes doing suicide attacks and dropping the bomb right on top of you. This is fun. This is what we want to see in War Thunder tank RP. No, I'm absolutely not bitter about this. It's the greatest fun that you can have in a game. And then we come to this scene. And this is what I am talking here about. So, we bounced the shell. And I saw a turret of another Leopard. So I was not quite as fast as I'd hoped to be in position. But, you know, you are comparable to a Leopard in speed. And that's good enough for me. So here we can see him. There it is. We fire and... yep, the shell disappears in the void. If this would have been an AP-HE-BC round, I would have killed him right there. And this is where AP-CBC rounds just sometimes disappear. I've heard excuses of people that the Leopard's turret is bugged. And sometimes, yeah, sometimes this happens. But with this gun, it happened way too often to be a bug on another tank. It's a problem of the cannon, or more specific, the round. And that is something that I don't like. So here we go in, and we go for B. Now obviously interpretations are different and opinions vary, but it's just my own experience that I want to just point out. And with my usual experience of Russian 85, 100 and 122mm rounds that are not AP-CBC rounds but AP-BC rounds, they just don't tend to fail me, like also in this example. That's a fantastic example of Gaussian map design, because where did the shell go? It must have been my 2% of packet loss. And again here the shell penetrates and deals no damage. It actually exits the back of the turret before it can explode. But then it doesn't explode on the engine deck or somewhere like that. It just disappears. Again, that is what I would, you know, say it's down to being AP-CBC rounds. Now the shell got enough room to actually detonate, and it did. I know that I can beat here the reload of the Leopard. Now he's gone too long, but I still move forwards. He bounces and I blow him up before the Object 120 would come from behind. Yeah. It's always fun to bully Leopards because it's the greatest tank that has ever existed. No, I really don't think it's a great tank. Even after all the buffs, even after all the fixes that it has received over the course of the last years. There's another one. He sees me too late, and there he goes. Kill number 3. So I'm sorry if I sound tired, but I really had not a lot of sleep over the course of the last week and even the last few days, where I was at home with a very nice, comfortable bed, which you really just appreciate when you had to sleep in a tent, or in my case in the car. Again, more in the story about Wacken 2018. There's a Leopard, and look at that shot. That should have killed him. And this is again one of those incidents with AP-CBC rounds instead of the usual 85, 100 or 122mm AP-HE-BC round that I'm used from Russian tanks. I needed 2 shots for a Leopard 1 because I didn't really hit center mass. Now I got hit 2 times by another Leopard, and I'm in a Mexican standoff. He killed one of my crew members, and miraculously my gun breach so far was not knocked out with the 2 hits. This is one of the things that are crazy about this tank. How often the gun breach gets hit. It's like high tier Call of Duty all over again. Everybody is directly shooting your gun, either knocking out your gun breach or your gun barrel, mostly the gun breach. And let's just have a look at the repair times. 33 seconds. Now I receive a shot from the side, and again we are down to 44 seconds because the tracks are also gone. Now thanks to my heavy angling, I'm safe from hash due to the spaced armor and also APDS/heat. The side armor really is fantastic, but not so much against a clean shot at close ranges from a 90mm. And this guy actually, I don't know why he then decided to actually hit the engine, but that allows me to actually survive this engagement and turn the turret, extinguishing the fire. His next shot goes into the rocks. Maybe he likes his shells like I like my whiskey on the rocks. I don't know. But I mark him here, and I get set on fire again, and then funnily enough my fire extinguisher is on cooldown. Bad jokes. But then I actually got saved here by teammates. And this is now the synergy of all the Russian tanks that I have. Overall, closer performance to each other, even the heavy tanks. Then there is the big discrepancy of, let's say, a Mouse and a Leopard in terms of armor, mobility, and firepower. They are not that easy to kill with random shots. They are also very effective if they have your side. And with Cupola shots, they can even make themselves work against the heaviest of enemy tanks. And the mobility is always not that bad. In fact, this tank is good. But again, it's 8.0. And at first glance, before I looked at anything, I asked myself, why is this tank having a lower battle rating than the T10M? The answer is simple. The T10M is maybe equally fast, has a slightly different armor layout, but overall same principle. But it has, with the APDS and also the heat round, more options, and also the stock APCBC round is just simply better. So this is why the T10M has a higher battle rate. So in terms of ammunition, this tank is not bad, but it's, I'd say, not what I expected. What did I expect? Well, I expected more something alongside, I guess, M103 in terms of penetration power, with a more reliable APCBC round overall. So that's it for this match. Let's have a quick look at the results. Here we can see 5 kills and a bit of extra action, 35,000 silver lines and 5,263 research points. So this battle here is now really fun to watch, and it is on Stalingrad, of course. How can you not play a Russian tank on Stalingrad? Now we have some lag spikes here, and this is now something where I test here the comment section. Usually if I say something about a tank and I add the words reliability issues and all those things, people tend to point out, oh, it's your packet loss, oh, it's your ping. And then that's all the arguments to disprove my points, or to just, you know, say your arguments are invalid because of this and that. In this battle, that doesn't really matter that much. It's more like the overall performance of this tank that is really fun. So we go aggressively in, and we actually, or I want to actually approach B and have a look at the tanks that want to rush B, because I'm a Russian tank, I protect B, not just rush it. That's just a meme gone out of control, I guess. There you can see the mobility for a heavy tank. That's pretty scary. What is that? Was that a Type 60 SPRG? And that's a case for our machine guns, isn't it? Yeah, all 8 of them. I think it's a stupid amount. It's a bit deceiving because, well, half of them are not even useful at all. Fixed mounted on the hull and the turret is strange, let's put it that way. So the question is, where is the Type 60 SPRG gone? That's the question. I expected to intercept him here, but it's not to be. That's strange. Hello. Why are you, little fella? There he is. Now the question is, has he seen me? I mean, I'm slightly bigger than him. Let's see what his reactions are. The other funny fact is that no other enemy tank is in this area. That at times really crawls with them. And... well, that was easy. And we move on. So where should I go now? I'm within enemy territory, behind the enemy lines. A is captured, B is uncontested, C belongs to the enemy. You see, the map design, I'm actually already going into the direction of spawn camping. So I turn around, and then I have the plan of deploying here one of the smoke barrels to actually not get shot from their spawn. And I do it before I go over the ridgeline, where then my rear is a bit more exposed and more visible and presents a bigger hitting area going up and down. And so I move and move and move and move and move and move, and we drive. And you can see there is absolutely nothing wrong with the mobility of such a heavy tank and also the maneuverability. Up until the point that we hit some steel bar. Now, then I see here the STB-1, and I can assure you that he did not expect me. And this time the shell just does what an APHE shell does. Funny enough, the reload is already there, and we surprise here a chieftain. Hello there. And we go into the capture zone. So that was now kind of an operation behind enemy lines, and that is down to the mobility of this tank, which is great. I did not really use here, I guess, anything special other than the mobility. And this is what's so good about the IS-7. It's versatile enough. Now, one of the upcoming scenes is now very, very crazy, and this is why I wanted to show you this battle in the first place. I'm about to, well, capture A, and I look around. There is a plane, but he has some difficulties, and that looks like a Crusader SPA, the Mark I, with the 40mm. Ah, he cannot really hurt me, can he? Well, the fact is, some of the side armor is pretty weak, like with the T10M. I want to destroy him here with the machine guns, but he actually destroys here my engine, and so I'm a sitting duck. And guess what happens next? Yeah, that happens. I destroy the plane, but the 800-kilogram bomb destroys also me. Well, that's it for me today with the IS-7. I couldn't make it quicker than this. Sorry about this. I hope to make another video about this tank to really go into the details about the strength and weaknesses of this tank. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll see each other in the skies and all the battlefields of War Thunder.